Christy here. We are technical recruiters in the field studying prompt engineering. I specifically like to use Gemini. Aditi likes to use ChatGPT. But no matter what agent or AML, or sorry, AI LLM you're using, it doesn't matter because we could still use them in an agentic way as our agent, and that's what prompt engineering is all about. So we're going to get into it. Prompt work with your AI agent, no matter if it's Gemini or, you know, ChatGPT, Grok, you name it. There's a lot of cool ones out there. And so what we're going to do is just how specifically what the, you know, kind of first principle thinking on what is it prompt engineering, specifically wanting to think about how to build a robust job search tool. So when you're learning about what the AI prompts are, we're going to have to do a deep dive into, well, what are histories of queries? We're also going to learn about the evolution of prompting, the art of prompt engineering, the components of a good prompt, and use cases and examples with Gemini, right? So by the end of the slideshow, we will understand AI prompt engineering at a basic level and the journey from basic search queries and the early data manipulation of sophisticated field of AI prompt engineering. So AI prompts, basically think about the history of queries and the evolution of human-computer interaction and our quest to extract and generate meaningful information. So the history of queries and how to get what you want. Okay, well, the early days, so like early web, 1970s to 1990s, the genesis of command line, basic indexing. Initially, search was very literal, often involved in command line interfaces or specific keywords. So systems would basically archive these in FTP sites indexed by keywords. And then that was early 1990s. So from like 75 to 90. And then in the 90s, we also started going into more web crawling. So the age of algorithms, and this looks like significant steps in allowing users to search any keyword on a web page. Basically moving beyond just URLs and keywords. They're able to match this logic, this Boolean logic, and really refine searches. And then in 1998, when its revolutionary page rank algorithm came out, which we all know Google is the organizer of the world's data and created that algorithm for us for page ranking, that shifted focus from simple keyword matching to relevance and authority based on link structures. Okay, so this greatly improved search quality, meaning users don't have to be quite as precise with queries. Search algorithms became more complex considering websites, content, structure, and links. So RankBrain in 2015 was an AI-powered component, further enhanced Google's ability to process never before seen queries by analyzing past searches and also drawing inferences when you infer something. So they're using past data history, past search history, and then and the algorithm is building in an inference. It's inferring maybe something that is in context. So then we have the onset of natural language processing in 2019 really becoming more robust. We're able to basically see prompt engineering as an essential art in crafting the input from that prompt. So we're going to go from these link tree search queries, very based on keyword searches, past history, use cases, and then it will infer. But now we're moving into more of the how do we put in the data? What are we really wanting? So the data has become so robust now, and we are going to steer the behavior of the search more than just entering a keyword. It's really going to become more interactive. So just as early data systems required precise instruction, SQL queries, to get specific results, modern LLMs, despite their natural language understanding, will still benefit immensely from carefully engineered prompts. So we want to learn more about what does that mean? What is a good engineered prompt? And the data that is being manipulated is the input, is coming from the input instruction of the user. So you're going to be able to transform your output based on what you're giving your data model, the LLM. So prompt engineering is a new form of data manipulation, if we think about it that way. So learning a little bit more about working with the agents. So we know now that data prompting is more of working with your agent, and it's going to give you better output based on your input. And it doesn't necessarily need a URL or a keyword. But what does it need? The art of prompt engineering. So these techniques are about manipulating the AI's thoughts, process, or perspectives rather than just the final output. Programmable intelligence, so prompt engineering, essentially makes these powerful AI models programmable in a new way, allowing even non-coders to instruct them to perform complex tasks by simply crafting intelligent prompts, input. So here we're going to see that precision. So just like any keyword search, when we're building Boolean strings in HR and recruiting, we're very familiar with this first principles, deconstruct. What are all of the possible keywords? Where should I focus in my search? So we know precision is still going to be important, but ambiguity can lead to undesirable outputs. I think that in early AI users, we kind of saw a lot of ambiguity, like what is the time zone, for Australia? Well, what if you wanted to know the time zone for Australia and Korea, and you have to ship something? So you can get very complex. I'm shipping from, London, and I need it to be in this time zone by this time and arrive at this time zone. So you really want to kind of like get the model to understand time zones first, understand shipping, ask it to reference these sources, get it to build that out. So precision is going to be important because just like a human would start off by kind of mapping out a plan on their research, they should also have their AI model building out the information, building the information into it that will be necessary as its prompt building. Context and constraints. So just as structured data systems benefit from defined schemas and constraints, prompt engineering use cases, examples, let's remember this keyword, few shot learning. So an explicit constraint to guide the AI. We're calling that few shot learning. There's a couple of little different contexts of prompt engineering here that we'll cover, even though the topic is very broad. We're going to cover a couple of them. So keep in mind that few shot learning. Okay, that's how you are thinking about teaching your prompt, your AI agent, in that way. And that way of a few shot learning, that means you are giving it explicit constraints, right? Then we also have a different way of learning. We have iterative and refinement, which also Gemini is amazing in setting this out. It's live iterating on a canvas with you, especially if you are looking at building a robust job search, needing to know like how you, maybe your resume, how is it stacking against that job description, against the market, right? Getting to understand what is the actual prompts, right? So it's going to start mirror imaging your data. Your SQL query will get a result and it will mirror prompt engineer. It also does this like iteratively, like right on the spot. Beyond exact matches, so the evolution of search from keywords to understanding the intent is akin to prompt engineering, moving beyond simple commands to more nuanced techniques like chain of thought prompting. You want to guide your HR through reasoning steps. There's also persona prompting. So asking the AI to take on a role. If you want to know how to build a resume from an interview, ask your AI to take on an interviewer role. Give it a job description, tell it about the company that it will be representing, and have it understand everything to do with the industry. Then have it interview you, and then have it create a resume based on your interview. You know, these are all fun things that you can do to have it have a chain of thought prompting. So basically just getting into, I'm sorry, that would be persona prompting. So you can take on different approaches and how you want to prompt engineer and work with your agent. So there are some components that we just discussed, right? There's going to be a lot of things to consider. We want to definitely make sure we understand the techniques about manipulating the AI thought process. Yes, you can manipulate the AI thought process. And so rather than a perspective, rather than just like this, I want this output, you want to get that AI model working with you and in a programmable, intelligent way. So your AI model is going to work in allowing you, even though you're not a coder, you're giving it, you're basically building its code and how it will work with you. So you need to give it instruction. And to perform complex tasks, your creativity is your limit. You can program your AI prompt to do whatever you want it to do. So there's lots of different contexts of prompts, but today we're going to kind of focus on the job search and an HR capacity. So we talked about that persona prompting. Let's learn about, in simple terms, an AI agent is a digital assistant, okay? So an AI agent will work with you at your direction to make decisions based on the data that they're gathering. So an AI agent can learn from their experience and improve their performance over time. So an AI agent can learn from their experience and improve over time, but they can also start to see and hear the world around them through sensors, and that they can take actions to interact with it. So the future of AI is constantly evolving into different ways that the AI model will be able to interact with and what different types of human behaviors there are. And so all of this is what like multimodal ways that we can really start building and working with AI, our digital agent. So some use cases we could get into on examples of how to build a prompt with Gemini. So we talked about persona prompting. The few shot is a chain of thought. Okay, so that concept is instead of asking the AI for a direct answer that we just talked about, you instruct it to think step by step or show its reasoning process before giving the final answer. This forces your model to perform intermediate reasoning steps, so which often leads to more accurate and verifiable outcomes for complex problems. And why it works, it stimulates human problem solving, breaking down a large task into smaller, more tractable subproblems. It also makes the AI thought process more transparent. Again, that would be your chain of thought prompting. These techniques, especially when combined, allow for remarkable control and precision in interacting with powerful models like Gemini. So your concept is you want to instruct the Gemini, or sorry, your AI model, whoever it might be, whichever model you're using, you want to instruct it to adapt to a specific persona, right? That role or that identity. Act as a senior software engineer. You will be a witty travel blogger. These are different types of personas. You know, for me and Aditi, we're technical recruiters, you know, so our personas might look like hiring managers or, you know, talent acquisition managers, anybody in the human resources, you know, workforce. But again, we can also practice on so many different personas that are very important. There's another concept called zero shot. So an example prompt is you are a seasoned venture capitalist evaluating a startup pitch, right? Focus on your market potential, team experience, and financial projections. Few shot versus zero shot prompting. So zero shot prompting, you provide no examples in your prompt, relying solely on the model's pre-trained knowledge and understanding of that instruction. Most simple prompts are zero shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Think about it. A zero shot prompt is just your basic prompt. That's how a majority of people are using their AI agents. You're going to get a very knowledgeable, organized response. But is it going to get into the level that you really want it to get into? So a few shot, unlike a zero shot, a few shot prompt, you provide a small number of input and output examples. So this also nowadays, it looks like adding in images, adding in audio, adding in presentation. You can add in a prompt text or you can add in media for the model to have a few shot prompts and being able to understand more about what it is that what's the environment that you're about to interact with. Give it the data that you have access to, that you want, and then allow the prompt model to be built on a thought of reasoning that maybe is higher than yours, but you have the creativity to know that it can be done. So go real big, okay? Few shot prompts is you're going to provide a number of input and output examples within the prompt to guide the model's behavior for a specific task. So this is incredibly effective for tailoring and modeling without having to like fine tune and self-correct. It's going to be more it's going to be more direct in its output. So for example, often simply adding phrases like, let's think step by step, walk me through your reasoning. Or providing a few examples where the reasoning steps are explicitly shown. So you might give a prompt, the total cost of 5 apples and 3 bananas is $8. If the apples cost $1, how much does a banana cost? Let's think step by step. Your AI will then show 5 apples times $1 equals $5. $8 minus the $5, 4 bananas, $3 left over, divided by 3 equals $1 per banana. So now your prompt has been given the step-by-step instructions. It reasoned this because you told it to go step by step. And it gave you what it would do step by step. In an HR example, I needed to know how many hours I worked at a company based on predicated on how many hours a week I worked, what month and day I started, how many months and days were left. You know, all of this middle math that by the time we're crunching numbers and thinking of scenarios and putting out all of this information into our resume, this is a very great way to have your your prompt build into your resume building. So you could say, using my start and end date, day of the month, and day of the month and month of the year, calculate how many total hours based on, working 40 hours a week or working 50 hours a week did I work here at this place. So again, really just kind of making it think step by step. And what your prompt will do is give you an example like that. It will give you an example prompt telling you why it's reasoning and how it's reasoning. And then you can calibrate from there. And once it has been calibrated, you know that your prompt is going to use that in its programming. I keep wanting to go backwards, I think. Go this way. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so some prompt building ideas. All right, so prompt building ideas might look like core generative use cases. So you can create content. Gemini can generate diverse creative text, including stories, poems, scripts, song lyrics. It will summarize very complex, lengthy data. It can efficiently condense long documents. I've been using it like that for a long time. I mean, I feel like AI has been around for so long now. Um, so I say a long time in jest, but I have definitely loved using summarization, where it will condense down and make a transcript into concise summaries. It will also create content. So unlike that creative content where it's going to generate all of this content creation, this is more like it's creating various forms of content. It can create images and videos, all kinds of things, music. So also code analysis, it will assist in debugging and explaining complex test cases. So that is our core generative use cases. So storytelling, summarization, content creation, code generation, and then, code analysis. So those are all ways to use a prompt. Okay, you can also use a prompt by extraction and, multimodal understanding. So structured data extraction, which would transform unstructured text into organized formats, like a JSON, a table, based on your schemas. It will also extract HR resumes and parse, so HR resume parsing. Specifically, it can extract key details like your name, experience, and skills from resumes for recruiting purposes. And when you're thinking about extraction and multimodal understanding, it will also extract images, generate descriptive textual captions for provided images. It will also have visual Q&A, so answers specific questions about the context and within that image. So I think I hope we all just saw Google's release of some new products, and especially because gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It might be Aspera, but I'm not sure. But there's a new image detector that, you know, you might say, what's up with that fire hydrant? And you're showing it a tree. It will know the context of that image and tell you about it, and give you, it will generate a description about that. It will correct you about that image. And then also document analysis, so processes and extracts text and data from visual documents and scanned PDFs or images, understanding layout. So you can give it images, you can give it code, you can give it a resume, you can give it a lot of big data to build, build out. I mean, but it will understand in multimodal ways how to extract what data you want and how to build what you want. So that's all very exciting. Another way to think about this in prompt building is just fundamental prompting and best practices. So we talked about it earlier in talking about zero shot. That's kind of very brief, very just tell me about the time zone in Korea. But don't get that confused with clarity and specificity. Words are very hard for me, you guys. So specificity allows, it always defines your goal precisely, and it avoids ambiguous language. So few shot would be an example of avoiding ambiguity, right? Few shot is ambiguity. You don't want that. I'm sorry, zero shot. You want few shot. So context provision supplies sufficient background information to help your AI agent understand the scenario. Output format specification. Clearly state the desired structure for the response. So if you want it in a JSON, if you wanted specific links if you want it on 10 pages, if you want bullet points on every subcategory, you must tell it what to do in the example-driven prompt. Again, also you want to iterate refinement. So continuously experiment with your prompt, phrasing, and details to improve your AI responses. Okay, so all of this is just basically saying play around with it, right? Fundamental prompting best practices, you just keep on refining, keep on trying, and keep on providing it more context. Advanced prompt techniques are going to look like chain of thought techniques, instructing your AI to think step by step like programmers do computers, right? We are training our large language model to interact with us and give us output based on our prompt engineering, which is basically like what developers have been doing. They have to develop a multi-step reasoning, and then they do it with all of this program language. Well, we have large language models now, guys. So we have to be able to instruct this program by prompt engineering it. And chain of thought will instruct your AI to think step by step to enable more accurate multi-step reasoning. We also persona prompting. So assign your AI a specific role or an identity. Okay, and then as you're inside that role, you can still go into other, building out other prompts. So a zero shot prompt, we know, is going to rely on the model's internet knowledge to answer questions without explicit examples. And few shot programming is that reiterated best practices. Use a small set of examples within the prompt to teach the model a new task or style. You don't have to just rely on one style, one task. It can manage multiple tasks, but you, in that few shot prompting, you're giving it the information it needs to build out that knowledge base. And then self-correction is guiding your AI to review and improve its own previous output of reasoning. Prompt engineering use case examples with Gemini. So a chain of thought prompting concept, instead of asking the AI for a direct answer, instruct it to think step by step or show its reasoning. So basically asking your AI to critique its own previous output or iteratively improve it based on feedback. That's amazing, right? How to implement. You want to review your previous answer for clarity and brevity, or improve the previous code snippet to be more efficient and add comments. So your data, your structured data extraction, this is particularly powerful for tuning unstructured text into organized, machine readable formats. Can we say resume? Can we say job description? I mean, you're going to take a lot of data. You're going to want to extract it, parse it, that type of thing. Think resume parsing tailored for HRIS systems. Extract key information from free form resumes, right, into a standardized format. You can directly address your specialized use cases for recruiting. So an example of a JSON prompt: extract the following details from the resume provided below into a JSON object with keys. Okay, it's going to do so. If a field is not found, use, and then there's your prompt command. So a sentiment analysis is going to categorize your text. It's going to give you customer reviews, the sentiment around the product, overall negative, positive, neutral vibe on that sentiment analysis. Think of the workforce economy, right? Let's study the Department of Labor. Let's study, here's some drop in whatever data that you've been reading and researching, and work with your agent on trying to formulate a clear summary of where, maybe where you think you need to focus in terms of opportunities and work opportunities, right? So lead information capture. This is where you might parse web pages or emails to collect contact details, company names, and specific product interests for sales leads. And I know a lot of sales people, we used to do a lot of web crawling and scraping and that kind of thing. And now we will build AI prompts to do this. And so learning the art is going to be pretty important for everybody. In fact, I'm sorry, my arrows. So in fact, the business integration of AI prompting as a key component of generative AI adoption is projected to have a transforming impact on sales growth. So user engagement and revenue generation by 2026 and beyond. It basically says that a strategic differentiator. Companies focusing on collecting, labeling, and protecting proprietary data assets for AI training and prompting will gain a significant strategic advantage. New form of programmability, prompt engineering empowers even non-coders to instruct sophisticated AI models, unlocking new levels of complex task execution and innovation across industries. So 900 billion by the end of 2025, growing significantly from previous years. Staff using AI tools report an average of an 80% increase in improvement of productivity. And then 378 million in 2025 and continue growing, adding approximately 73 million new users in 2025. You guys, if you're not prompt engineering by now, 73 million of us will be in the next year. So let's get to it. Let's figure out what we're doing. And again, experimenting is it's going to be the best way in making sure that we're able to stay on track. So some questions that might be out here are vast and could be very broad. But in terms of how you choose to use prompt engineering. Um, there's realistic ways to do so, and it really does come down to what tools that you're knowledgeable of, and how creative you are willing to get. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for your time. Appreciate it.